Hey folks, it's the Chubby Meeple here. I wanted to round out 2016 by giving you my top 10 list, personal list of my favorite games of 2016. I know a lot of people are doing this. I'm going to do this a little bit differently though. Instead of a top 10 list of my favorites, I'm going to do essentially two top 5 lists and kind of smash them together. The bottom half of the list, so to speak, which really won't be in any kind of order, will be the top games that came out in 2016 that I have not played yet, but am most excited to get to the table. So we'll talk about those when we get to those. The top 5 will be the typical countdown list, games 1 through 5, or 5 through 1 rather, of 2016 games that I played, games I enjoyed, the ones I've had the most fun with. So want to touch on those. We're going to talk about each one when we get to them. So let's get started with the top 5 games I haven't played yet, but I'm looking the most forward to. Now, these first 5 games, the ones I haven't played yet, these aren't going to be in any particular order. These are just games that I'm excited to play. And of the 5 of them that I'm going to mention, 4 of them are on the shelf behind me. Some of these games I just recently acquired within the last month or so, and just with the holidays, and I started a new job, so I've had messed up schedules, just having a chance to get them to the table. So 4 of the 5 games that I'm most looking forward to are here in the house, ready to be played with my game group, with the kids, if it's a game that they could play. Maybe I can even get my girlfriend to play some too. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But anyway, so we're going to just dive right in here. So the number 5 game on my list, honorable mention, the one I've not had a chance to play yet, I don't have on my collection, and that's Havoc from Portal Games. Looking forward to the asymmetry. I love games that you have to play each faction a little bit differently in order to succeed. It makes the gameplay different as long as you don't play the same faction each time you play. Makes that gameplay different each and every time, and I like that. I'm also really intrigued by the new combat mechanic that they've introduced, whereas you place your troops on a different section of the combat area and kind of choose what reward means the most to you at that point in the game, whether it's controlling the area, whether it's taking prisoners, that kind of thing. I really enjoy that aspect of it. So I'm looking forward to playing Havoc from Portal Games. That is my number 5, honorable mention, if you will. The number 4 honorable mention on the list is one that's on the shelf behind me. I'm probably blocking it with my gigantic head right now. And that would be Tyrants of the Underdark from... well, who publishes that? I'm not sure. Tyrants of the Underdark. Looking forward to that one. I'm a big fan of deck building games. Deck building's probably my favorite board game, card game mechanic that you can have in a game, mainly because they're easy to solo, or easier to solo, I should say, because a lot of the deck builders, there are quite a few deck builders out there that are played kind of semi-cooperatively, and that makes them fairly easy to solo. So deck building gets played a lot around here. Looking at you, Marvel Legendary, play you a lot. You didn't come out in 2016, though, so you're not on this list. Sorry. Tyrants of the Underdark, taking that deck-building mechanic, mashing it up with area control, which is another mechanic that I really enjoy. And then it's set in the D&D universe, so you can't really go wrong there. I'm not a big paper and pencil RPG player in my gaming, anyway. I played a little bit of Pathfinder, but never actually done the pencil and paper D&D that's there. So... but with this, and some of the board games set in the D&D universe, mainly Lords of Waterdeep, adore Lords of Waterdeep, that worker placement mechanic. It's a really easy game to play. I play it all the time on my phone, and I think I've actually played the actual board game version of it like 3 times in real life, but I play the crap out of it on my iPhone. I love it. Really, really enjoy Lords of Waterdeep, but I'm digressing a little bit. Want to play Tyrants of the Underdark, set in the D&D universe, deck building, area control. How can you go wrong? The number 3 game I'm looking forward to playing, also on the shelf behind me, and that is Adrenaline from CGE. And this one surprises me that I'm looking forward to it as much as I am, because I'm not a big fan of first-person shooter video games. I'm terrible at them, hence I don't like to play them. And I think what the intrigue here is the fact that a board game first-person shooter gives me a chance to be good at one for a change. So I think that's a lot of it. I also like again, it's area control in a way. It is first-person shooter, so it has kind of that Ameritrash theme over the top of it, but it really plays like a Euro game. And I've really taken a shine to Euro gaming here recently. Haven't got to play a lot of them, but the ones that I've played I really enjoy and really like that. So taking that, putting it on kind of an Ameritrash theme and having a game there where you're going to die, but it's not that big of a deal when you do, because you're less valuable of a target now. I like that aspect a lot. So looking forward to Adrenaline from CG. The second game, or the number 2 honorable mention on this countdown of games I've yet to play, but looking forward to in 2016, is right here. And that would be Clank from Renegade Game Studios. Really looking forward to getting Clank to the table. It's a one I just acquired recently, added to the collection. Haven't been able to play it again because of holidays, new work schedule, just kind of finagling the schedule around to get games to the table is becoming kind of a challenge lately, something that I'm still working through and figuring out. But absolutely adore what Renegade Game Studios has done this year. They've really knocked it out of the park. One of our other favorites here in the house that I play a lot that's not on this list, spoiler alert, it's not one of my top 5 games of 2016, but it does get played around here at the house from Renegade, is Lotus. Just a game that's easy to play with my kids. My girlfriend's actually sat down and played a few games of it with us. She went to one of the launch events here at one of my local game stores when they had a launch event for the game, or retail launch. It was a fun time. We enjoy the game. We've got it on the shelf here. We play it frequently. So Renegade's just doing a fantastic job. And what I really look forward to with Clank is, again, the deck building aspect. But then they take my favorite mechanic of deck building and they mash it with my second favorite mechanic in board games, and that is push your luck. I love the push your luck mechanism because I just don't know when to stop. I'm like a kid when it comes to playing those games. I love that feeling, that tension of, do I go one more? Do I stop now and take whatever points or resources or whatever it is in the game that I have? So taking deck building, smashing it together with push your luck, it seems like a game that I'm going to absolutely love to play. And it looks like one that's even simple enough that I'll be able to teach my kids and introduce them a little bit to how the deck building mechanic works, because I'm not sure we've done that. We've played a lot of simpler games here, but looking forward to getting Clank to the table as well. And that brings me to the number 1 honorable mention. Again, these aren't in any particular order, but this is one that I have been super excited to get to the table. It showed up, my delivery of it showed up just last week, late last week, so it has not hit the table yet. Really, all I've done is take the shrink wrap off the box and take a look at the components on the inside because they're gorgeous. And that is this bad boy right back here behind me, Mechs versus Minions. Cannot wait to get this to the table. My kids are super excited to play this thing, which is probably why I'm super excited to play it. So I'm looking forward to getting this to the game. I think it's going to be a game that will be simple enough for them to learn. It may take a few turns before they really know what's going on, but I'm looking forward to getting that to the table because they're excited about it, and I'm excited about it. The component quality is probably the best I've seen in games that have come out in 2016, and that includes the games I'm going to talk about here in a minute, my top 5 of the games that I've actually played that are there. So Mechs versus Minions, definitely looking forward to hitting that. That's going to certainly happen here early 2017, probably right after the new year rolls around. So those are my top 5 honorable mentions. Again, 5 games I've not played yet, 4 of which are on my shelf and just haven't hit the table. Looking forward to getting those out and playing those into 2017. They're going to be games that I know, or at least at this point know, I'm going to really enjoy playing. So that brings us to the top 5 of the top 10, or the second top 5 list in this. And these are my actual favorite games that I've played in 2016 that I've gotten the most enjoyment out of here. Now, I'm going to give you a bit of a heads up. There are games on this list that you may be like, why is that on the list and this other game not? Very simply, it boils down to the fact that in my particular situation and who I get to play games with most often, I don't get a lot of heavier games. So I'm going to spoiler alert this right now. You're not going to see games on this list like Star Wars Rebellion, Feast for Odin, Oracle of Delphi. Games like that are not going to be on this list because some of them I have, in fact, those 3 I've not played, but there are games I've played this year that I've really enjoyed that are on this list simply because I've only played them once or played them twice, and I don't get them to the table here when I'm playing at home or playing with my semi-regular game group. So there are games on this list that I got a lot of enjoyment out of 2016 because my kids play them. I play them with my kids, and they've led to some really great moments that are there. And then there is a game on this top 5 list that's on the list because I've enjoyed it, but more importantly, it actually got my girlfriend to the gaming table, and she's enjoyed it. And there's actually been a couple of times where she's asked to play it, and that excites me because she's not a board game fan, and I'm fine with that. I know board games aren't for everyone. I adore them. Everyone watching this video adores them, but they're not for everyone. So I do my best to try to really not push her into gaming. So when I find a game that comes out that she enjoys, that she's willing to play, I mentioned the Lotus retail event when I mentioned Lotus during my my Clank discussion, or Clank words. Renegade in their game there. She went to the Lotus retail launch with me and played Lotus. It's part of the reason it's on the shelf behind me, because she plays it and she likes it. So there will be a game on the list that she's going to, or that's on the list mainly because she plays it. So I want to let you know it's going to be I don't want to say a lighter list of games that are on the list from 2016 that I played and really enjoyed, but it's going to be different than what you're seeing out there. Again, no Feast for Odin, no Star Wars Rebellion, no Star Wars Destiny, any of those kinds of things, because a lot of those I haven't played, or I haven't played enough to really get a feel for them, and they're things that just don't get played very often. So let's jump right into the top 5. So the number 5 game on my list, and this is one I'm kind of cheating on because it actually released back in 2014, but that was a Japan release in 2014. It was a very popular game there. I haven't played the Japan version. I've actually played the version that came out this year from Arcane Wonders. They did the first English edition release of this game this year in 2016. And so my number 5 game, and basically the reason it's number 5 is mainly because I'm kind of cheating on it, and that is Onitama from Arcane Wonders. A great 2-player game, kind of a chess-like game. You have a master, 4 pawns across the board, and you're working to either capture the opponent's master or get your master to the other side of the board to your opponent's pagoda or archway, or whatever they call it in the game, kind of that entryway. What I like about the game, though, this is a game I've played a lot with my kids, specifically my younger daughter. Have played it more with her, but it lends itself really well to, it's an easy game to play, and you've got the cards right there on the table that tell you how to play it, but you have 2 movement cards. Your opponent has 2 movement cards, and there's a 5th movement card that's in the middle of the table, and there's always one, because when you play a card, you move by playing one of your cards by handing it to your opponent, and you take the card that's in the middle of the table. Your opponent plays one of their 2 movement cards by giving it to you, replaces the one you just gave to them, adds, and it just goes around the table. So you're only ever playing with 5 moves. And it's open knowledge the entire time. So you can look across the board, you can see the moves your opponent has, they can see the moves you have available to you on your next move, so you can kind of plan out where you're going to move your master, your pawns on the board. What I really enjoy about this is it is complex and kind of chess-like in that there's some deep strategy in the game and how it plays, but what I really like is it's easy enough to learn that I can play it with my youngest daughter, and she's beat me at it a couple of times. I get in there and I just get too gung-ho and I think, ooh, I'm going to win this in 2 turns, and I make a dumb move not paying attention to what she's got available, and then she starts laughing, she plays her card, and she captures my master. It's happened more often than I like to admit, but it does kind of make me a little proud that as young as she is, she's able to pick it up and play really easy. So number 5 on the list, Onitama from Arcane Wonders. Now the number 4 game on my list, and this is the game that I mentioned or referenced that it's on the list because my girlfriend enjoys it. She's asked to play it. I love when that happens because I get to share my love of board games with her without forcing a lot of the games that I have in my collection on her. And that number 4 game, reskin of a popular game, but it is a 2016 game, so it does count. And that is Pandemic: Reign of Cthulhu from Z-Man Games. Pandemic, we've played Pandemic quite a lot in the house. You can see it. It's out here on my shelf now. It gets played here at the house fairly frequently. Not a lot, but definitely gets played. Have not gone the Legacy route again just because of the makeup of my gaming group. I don't really have a regular group of people I could play a Legacy game with. But tried Pandemic with my girlfriend because she's a big fan of Castle Panic. Really enjoys Castle Panic. Asked to play it a lot, and I thought, let's try another cooperative game where the difficulty ramps up each turn. Has that same kind of feel to it, just a little bit different theme. We played Pandemic, and in her words, it was okay. She didn't hate it, didn't really love it, just okay. When she heard me talking about a Cthulhu version, though, her ears kind of perked up because she's a big Cthulhu fan, and she's like, I might be interested in that one. So I picked it up. We brought it home. We played it. We played it with the kids. We played just the 2 of us, and she's really enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed it as well. It does, a lot of people are like, oh, it's just Pandemic with Cthulhu slapped on the top of it, but I don't feel like that's true. I feel like they've added some different mechanics to the game that makes it feel a little different than your normal Pandemic. Specifically, the little Shoggoth monsters that pop up on the board at different times that move around the board when certain cards come out, and you have to stop them from escaping through the open gates, or it awakens more of the ancient ones that come out to the board. I like the aspect of you have 11 ancient ones, well 12 if you count Cthulhu, but Cthulhu's in every game. You have 11 ancient ones other than Cthulhu that could potentially be in your game, but you only throw 6 of them on the board. You deal them out face down, so you don't know who they are. You don't know what kind of rule changes you're going to run into as they awaken and progressively work toward Cthulhu as things get worse and worse in Pandemic. We have lost this game miserably. We've won, I think, once. But she enjoys it. So I get enjoyment out of it because she enjoys it. I enjoy playing games with her. So anytime I can play games with her, I do get a little bit more of an enjoyment out of the game than I probably should. Lotus is a great example of that. It's not a game that looking at is something that I would have just dove all over and played, but because she likes it so much, I picked up a copy and we play it. And it's the same with Pandemic Reign of Cthulhu. Probably wouldn't have been a game that I would have purchased had she not expressed interest. So my number 4 game of 2016, Pandemic Reign of Cthulhu from Z-Man Games. My number 3 game of 2016, and this is going to be one that people are going to be like, I've not heard of this, or that's a lighter game, I don't really know, but I love this game. I've played it, I played it back for the first time back in October, before it was even out and available, and I pre-ordered it on Cool Stuff that same night, because I had such a fun time playing it. I've since played it with a couple of my nieces and my brother. Haven't had a chance to get it to table with my kids yet, but I absolutely adore this game, and that is Quartz, right back here on the shelf behind me, Passport Game Studios. Quartz takes that push your luck mechanic that I really like, throws in a little bit of set collection, a little bit of take that with some cards that can be played, and really gives you a unique game experience. What I enjoy most about the game is, again, it's something simple to play. I played this with one of my nieces who's 10, and she loved it. She actually, when we played it back earlier, a little bit before Thanksgiving, and enjoyed it, had fun with it, and we were done. I got all the components put back in the box, and she grabbed the box and kind of took off with it, and I thought, oh, she's trying to take my game, she's joking around. She'd actually taken it to her mom to show her mom the game because she wants it for Christmas. So Quartz, it's a push your luck game if you're not familiar with it. You're basically, each player takes the role of a dwarf. You're going down to the mines, you're mining for these precious gems that are down there, but there are these black gems, obsidian is what it's called in the game, and you want to avoid the obsidian. If you get 2 obsidian in your mine cart, you have an accident, you're kicked out of the mine for the day, and you don't get to score any of the other precious gems that you may have found. They get thrown back in the bag. But you mine your gems, there's a little bag that's got all these little gems in there. Great component quality, by the way. Really enjoy it. But you pull 1 gem out of the bag, you put it in your mine cart. Most of them are valuable gems. There are 6 different types of valuable gems, each one that are worth a different dollar amount. And then you have the obsidian. Of course, most of the gems in the bag are obsidian. I believe there's 18 obsidian gems, whereas the most valuable gem, there's only 2 of those in the bag. So a little trickier there, but you literally pull 1 gem out, you drop it in your minecart, you pass the bag to the next person. You have some action cards that can do some take that, so you can force other players to mine for you. You know, they have to mine 2 gems, and you can take 1 of them if you want, or they can keep them both. They have to keep whatever else comes out. So it's a good way to mitigate some of that push your luck a little bit if you've got those cards. But on the flip side of it, the designers of Quartz made it so that you may not want to play those cards, because each card that you have in your hand at the end of the game is worth extra money. So if you have any unplayed cards, you get extra money or extra victory points at the end of the game. But essentially, you go through the mine, and when it gets to your turn, you either mine a gem out of the bag and pass it to the next person, you play 1 of your cards, or you cut your losses. Say, I'm done, I'm leaving the mine for the day, and you get to take all the gems that you've collected and score them at the end of the day, or the end of the round. Each round is referred to as a day. And you basically play through 5 days, and whoever has the most money at the end of the 5th day is the winner. Very cool little game. It's very quick and easy to play. You can get through a game in probably 30 minutes, maybe 45 if you're taking your time. If you have someone who's kind of has that analysis paralysis problem of, do I want to dive deeper, do I want to stop and score what I've got here? I've seen some great moments. One of my nieces was in there. She had about probably $28 worth of gems in her minecart, and she was trying to get 1 more so that she could double the value of one of them and really score a lot, and she pulled that 2nd obsidian out of the bag, and just just the frustration of, oh, I can't believe I did that to myself and I lost all these points. The rest of it, we shared some laughs, but it didn't turn her off of the game because it is a really fun game. So if you've not played this, if you've not heard of it, definitely check it out. That is Quartz from Passport Game Studios. The number 2 game on my list, and this was probably going to be my number 1 game throughout 2016 until I played my number 1 game. My number 1 game recently unseated this game as my number 2. This game was the game more than anything I wanted to get my hands on at Gen Con. I was lucky enough to do so. It was a Kickstarter game. Maybe leaning a little bit there. It was a Kickstarter game, maybe spoiling a little bit of it. I did not back this on Kickstarter, so I had to get a hold of it at Gen Con or wait until it hit retail, or at least copies came back in stock at retail. And now that that's happened recently, I see people picking this game up again. That game, my number 2 game of 2016 that would have been number 1 until recently, Scythe, Stonemaier Games. Jamie Stegmaier designed an absolutely amazing game. I love, again, the asymmetry of the factions, each faction having their own kind of special ability that they have, lends its way to playing the game, multiple different strategies, multiple different paths to victory that are there. And, of course, the artwork. The artwork is so captivating in this game. Jacob Rozalski, if I'm saying that right. I hope I'm saying that right because I don't want to mispronounce that guy's name. He does some fantastic work, but the artwork is amazing. This 1920s Eastern European, kind of peasant feel, mashed up with steampunk, sci-fi kind of mechs, and those two existing in the same world. I frequently check out Jacob's ArtStation page and just scroll through his artwork because it is absolutely stunning. But I love Scythe, and what I'm excited to do in 2017, I haven't had a chance to do it yet, but what I'm really looking forward to in 2017 is putting Scythe on the table in front of my kids. My kids are younger. It's going to be a heavier game for them to learn. It's going to take some time. It's going to require some patience on my part as well as on theirs. But what I'm looking forward to is getting that in front of them because it is one of my favorite games of 2016, and they see it on my shelf. They ask to play it quite often. We just haven't had a chance to do it because it is a longer game. It's going to take a while to teach them because they are younger. I say younger, they're 10 and 13, so there's not like I'm trying to teach a 7-year-old how to play Scythe. But I love Scythe. I love the components. I love the asymmetry. I love the whole kind of Cold War feeling of there's going to be combat, but maybe there won't be combat. I have seen one time where someone has played Scythe. It wasn't me. Someone in my gaming group played Scythe, never once engaged in any kind of combat, and still won the game. Don't know how they pulled that off. But they won. It was really close. It was like 2 points or something like that. But I've seen it done, so you don't have to engage in combat, even though you do get one of your objectives met for winning combat. So I really enjoy Scythe. I love the different paths to victory, the different ways you can play it. Again, the asymmetry of the factions, where you can pick a different faction and kind of change up the way you play the game. I did grab the expansion, the Invaders from Afar expansion. I've not had a chance to play with that expansion yet. I feel like getting a 7-player game of Scythe would be crazy, and I'm just crazy enough to try it. I think it's going to be amazing. If I ever get that chance, I will definitely dive on it. But the number 2 game for me of 2016, definitely Scythe from Stonemaier Games and Jamie Stegmaier. Well, we've reached the top of the countdown here. Just talked about Scythe. Number 2 would have been my number 1 game, except recently I got my hands on a copy of and played Terraforming Mars, Stronghold Games. Love, love, love Terraforming Mars. The one complaint everyone has are the component boards themselves, the player boards with your cubes laying all over it, having to be really careful of not bumping those. I haven't had that problem yet. I could see how it could be a problem, especially if you've got someone who is bumping the table frequently, or is really bad about reaching across and knocking things over. But that component quality aside, the game itself is incredibly well thought out. There's over 200 cards in this game, 200 unique cards in this game, but it balances the game. I have never played a game of Terraforming Mars where there's been a runaway leader. or at least not a situation where the runaway leader got so far ahead that you felt like there was no chance you were going to be able to catch them. There's so many different ways to score points with your cards and with terraforming the planet itself and different things. Again, we got that asymmetry of the different corporations that you can play as, where some of them start with more money and some of them have special abilities, and you can kind of gives you a little bit of a strategy of how you're going to play that particular game. I love when games do that because it's not the same game over and over and over again. So you get that engine building going, and you're focusing on oxygen, you're focusing on the temperatures, raising that temperature. But what I really love the most about this game is you're all kind of semi-cooperatively working together to reach those 3 end game conditions of having the temperature level all the way up, having the oxygen level all the way up, and having the 9 ocean tiles played out on the planet itself. You have to semi-cooperatively work to make that happen in order to trigger the end game, but you have to do it in a way that's also competitive because you're competing to be the best corporation for terraforming the planet and have the most points there at the end of the game. So really enjoy that aspect of it. I really enjoy how a lot of the cards make sense from a scientific standpoint. You crash an asteroid into the planet, it raises the temperature and maybe destroys some plant life. It makes sense. It's just an absolutely fun game to play. It looks really heavy. When I first saw it, I looked at it, I'm like, I don't know that I'm ever going to get that to the table, simply because just all the cubes all over the place, and you're tracking different resources in different ways, and there's so much going on. I heard 200 unique cards. It seemed really over the top. Sat down and played it. It's a really simple game to learn, really simple to play. After your first couple of turns, you know what you're doing. Probably my favorite mechanic, and it's really thematic as well, is the fact that you're buying cards into your hand. Normally with games, when it's your turn, you draw cards, they go right in your hand automatically, and you may have to spend some points or resources or whatever game it is you're playing. You're spending something to be able to play those cards out on the table. But in Terraforming Mars, they refer to it as your research phase. You're researching these different technologies. And that's going to cost you money to do that research. So it makes sense that you have to buy these cards to put into your hand before you can then pay their cost later to actually implement it on the planet and in your terraforming. So I really enjoy that aspect of it. This is a game that I have played in a group of, I've played it groups of 2, 3, 4. I've played this game solo. I absolutely love the solo component in this as well. And Scythe is the same way. I love the solo mode in Scythe as well. Both of those games are 1 and 2 on the list simply because they both have really strong solo modes, and in my situation here at home, I do a lot of solo gaming because either the kids aren't here, and I mentioned the non-gaming girlfriend, so a lot of solo play happens, and these 2 games have just gorgeous solo play that are there. Scythe, you're not doing it, you're not making your opponent's moves for them. You've got a deck of cards that determines what your opponent's going to do. So it really, really gives you that feel of playing against someone. Terraforming Mars, you've got a clock. You're going against the clock. You've got 14 turns to terraform the planet, or you lose. And I really enjoyed that. So definitely check out Terraforming Mars if you've not already played it. Places will hopefully start getting it back in stock. I know it's a tough game to get a hold of right now, but definitely if you can get your hands on it, don't hesitate. Grab Terraforming Mars and add that to your collection. Get it to the table as soon as you possibly can. So that's it. My top games of 2016. 5 I've looking forward to playing, and 5 that I have played and really enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed this list. Feel free to comment below, ask questions. What games did I leave off the list that should have been there? What games did I put on the list that you just don't agree with? Argue away down in the comments. I really want some comments going on this. Subscribe to my channel. I've got some great things coming in 2017 for the new year. Some things I've got planned. Some reviews, some unboxings, some walkthroughs. Possibly even some more lists like this that I've got. Just kind of depends on what happens. So definitely click that subscribe button. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter. I'm at the Chubby Meeple on both of those. And look forward. Hope you guys have a wonderful end to 2016. A wonderful start to 2017. And I'll see you in the new year's. Thank you, and keep gaming.